Hey there everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the KSB tutorial series that I'll be doing. And just jumping back into the old game here. Just real quick, wanted to see something. Apparently I have a flight. Yes, I do have a flight. It is the successful mission we pulled last time. So last time we made our orbit, and well, this is it right here. And that's a wonderful little vessel that we have. Oh, nice. There's the moon. What a nice shot. Anyways, yeah, this is our ship that made it into orbit. So, well, you might be thinking, what's next? What is next? Next is probably, well, that right there. Trying to go to the moon. That's probably like the most logical progression of your KSB career, I guess. Once you start playing this wonderful little game. So, well, what do you need to do to get to the moon? As you might have been able to tell, that ship right there did not have enough fuel to make it to the moon. I mean, it barely had enough fuel to make it up into space in the first place, but that's alright. That is fine, because all we need to do is just, you know, do a little bit extra work. So let's go back to... I don't think I actually saved that as anything. Pretty sure it is just this. Yeah. Alright, so last time I actually used these solid fuel boosters, or solid rocket boosters on the side, and I didn't really talk about them too much. I honestly don't even think I needed them, but, you know, I put them on anyways because it wasn't working before. But yeah, solid rocket boosters, they're basically just an engine strapped onto fuel. You cannot control the throttle, it's just on and off switch. So once you hit that spacebar and you activate these things, you better hope that you're going to use them all, and you don't want to get rid of them early, because, yeah, that is bad news. So they're very, very important for more advanced rocket building. But for just what we're going to be trying to do today, we're actually not going to need these, because we're going to be working on a multiple stage rocket. Yipper. So I'm just gonna get rid of... you know what? No, these are fine. I'll leave them on. I'll leave them on. So for multiple stage rockets, the main thing you need to keep in mind is the fact that, well, you do have multiple stages, so you have to set it up in such a way that, well, your stages do what you want them to do. So we'll leave this as the initial launch stage. I don't know if that'll be good enough, but, you know, we'll see. We'll move this out of the way. Actually, no, we'll move that out of the way. We will just add another stage in here. So just like before, we will add a tank in here. Do one of these. Perfect. And why not toss an engine on here? Do one of these ones, yes. I'll talk about the other engine in just a second. So anyways, now that you want to attach that, well, you can, but don't do that. Because if you do this at this point, these aren't attached with a decoupler. So once you fire this second stage, once this engine goes, the engine is going to send all its fire, death and destruction, you know, all that good stuff that comes out of the back of an engine directly into these fuel tanks. Chances are it'll be fine, but there's also the possibility of it blowing up right in your face. So let's just quickly fix that up, and all you need to do is just add a decoupler. Not one of those. One of these little guys. Bam, we got a decoupler. So now when you try to go to that second stage, this will just decouple safely and you'll be good to go. Alright, so now that we have a second stage on there, well, let's see how we do actually. I'm kind of curious to see how far up we actually get. I might end up cutting some of that out, but we shall see. I did actually want to talk about the staging real quick. So as you see, I don't know if I talked about it last time, but when you hover over things, in the bottom right there, you'll see the actual part that is in the staging. So this engine is actually in stage 2 for some reason, which is not good, because stage 1 or stage 3, I suppose, starting from the bottom up, is actually the decoupler. So as it stands right now, this would decouple before the engines actually fire, which is not too good. So let's get that engine on there. Okay. And then I'll just move the decoupler up here so that when this decouples, the other engine fires at the same time, and then the rest is the same. Now I'm going to talk about another quick little thing here that is super handy, the stability enhancers. It is completely unnecessary on this ship, but for larger vessels, when they're going to be on the launch pad, you're going to want to give them some sort of support, and that's how you do that. And it just pops up down here in the staging as well. I generally like putting these on the same stage as my engine, so as soon as I fire, it starts blasting up. But I've seen people do it where the engine goes first, then the stability enhancers decouple. That is actually the proper way of doing it, I believe, but that's not the way I do it, and it doesn't really matter. So anyways, yeah, let's launch this baby and see what we got. This isn't really advanced rocket design, but it does give you some general idea for how to add multiple stages and how those multiple stages behave and all that. So anyways, here we go. As you can see, because of the stability enhancers, we're actually not resting on the launch pad anymore, which is pretty cool. So, alright. I'm getting some weird frame rate issues right now. I don't know. Alright, let's get going. So, engine's up to full, and once we hit spacebar, those decouple, and the engine fires. So there you are. There's that. I'm actually going to probably skip over most of this. How am I doing on time? I'm not doing too great on time, because I do want to actually talk about some of the other engines as well. So, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try time warping. Yes, time warping. I haven't talked about time warping yet. I'm actually going to touch on that. I'll touch on it right now, but I was going to do like a tips and tricks episode. So, time warping, there's two types of time warp. There's physical time warp, which I'm in right now, and physical time warp is something that you're restricted to when you're in the atmosphere, but you can also use it outside of the atmosphere. And physical time warp just basically means that the physics engine is still working, so it's still trying to, like you can see here, the wings are still adjusting and all that. If I were to turn, oh wow, I'm going way too fast, Let's start turning. If you were to not have physical time warp on, these little winglets, for example, would not work anymore, and your ship would not be as well controlled. Anyways, we're coming up to the end of the first stage here. I'm gonna just quickly show you the decoupling and all that. Very important. Bam, there goes the engine, it burned out, and we decouple and we have the other engine going. Hey, we actually have something of an orbit. Whoops, going to... This little engine probably won't be enough to actually get us into orbit, but yeah, we'll see. And yes, I know I'm not doing this properly, I should be following the vector, but you know what, I don't really care. Actually, I do care. That's a lie. I'm gonna zoom forward a little bit. Just a bit more. So I'm still in physical time warp now, as you can see, but now that I've gotten out of the atmosphere a little bit, I now have normal time warp as well, which goes up to 1,000 times? Or is it 10,000 times? I can't remember what the max one is. But that turns off the physics engine, so your ship will still be moving around and all that, but it won't be affected by physics. So you gotta be super careful with that, because objects will just kind of like phase through each other, and yeah, it's just not good news. But it is also one of the first things that, as a KSP player, you learn how to abuse, because the time warp lets you cut your rotation, basically, so you can use it as a sort of a cheaty SAS alternative. And you also obviously use it for, you know, getting to places faster. That's its main purpose. But anyways, are we doing on orbit here? Not doing too badly. But yeah, this engine will not be enough to get us to the moon. Sadly, and it won't. So, what does that mean? Well, that means we need to either add more rockets, add more fuel. Sure, I'm going past my apoapsis. Always make sure you're paying attention. You don't want to go past the apoapsis, because now I'm sinking again. I'm dropping to the ground. Well, at least we're going to have an orbit. Okay, and now we're passing the apoapsis again, so I'm going to go back a little lower here. Always try to stay behind it if you can. Try to keep it ahead of you. Not too much. This is a little bit too much. Oh, look at that. We have an orbit. That's fantabulous. Just gonna zoom forward and circularize this at 92, roughly. Alright, there we go. More or less circularized, and we don't have a whole lot of fuel. So yeah, this didn't work out too well, but this is pretty much the same fuel as I have in the other rocket that's out in orbit. It's just it didn't use any solid rocket boosters. So there's that. And really that's just a matter of preference. I don't really like using fuel boosters or rocket boosters, but sometimes you need to, especially with the bigger ships. Anyways, real quick, I'm actually going to go back to the Space Center, and since I am running out of time, I'm just going to talk about some of the other engines. I won't actually use them or anything like that, but we have... Okay, so we have the mainsail here. This is one of the most important engines you're ever going to have on a ship, because this works wonders for bigger ships. It'll get you up to where you want to be. And it does have some overheating issues, but I'll talk about those in another episode. But for example, if I were to put one of these on here, like say I were to just remove all of this and do something like this, doesn't even have to be pretty. Okay, so let's say we were using before, we had two of these. They were two fuel tanks. 360, I gotta do math. What is that? 720 in total liquid fuel, whereas this one is, 2880. So, quite a bit more fuel, and the thrust on it as well. If you look down there, you see max power is 1500, whereas the other one, which was this one, max power is 215. So yeah, pretty big difference. This ship right here would probably get us to the moon. I might have to make some changes here, but it would most likely get us to the moon. Anyways, that's it. Like, that's the big engine. There's a middle engine, the skipper, which is pretty much right in the... Well, not in the middle. It's a little less than half. But these are all just experiment with them. You just gotta, you know, see what works best for the ship that you're building. For smaller ships, you would use smaller engines, or if you want, you use lots of solid fuel boosters. In fact, one of the most fun things to do is take one of... Nope, not one of those. One of these? Sure, one of those. Take one of those, take one of these, like so. Strap a chair to the outside, and bam! You have a rocket, a one-man rocket. Yeah, this won't be good news for the Kerbal that's in it, but, you know, it's there. So, yeah, just real quick, let me just do a quick little summary of the things that we have under propulsion, which is probably one of the most important screens you're going to be looking at. You have the fuel tanks, different size fuel tanks, engines, different size engines, 3 meter apart, 1 meter apart. And then you have tiny engines, and the solid rocket boosters. There's also RCS and stuff, but we'll talk about that later on. It's not necessary at the moment. So yes, bigger engines, bigger ships. Smaller engines, smaller ships, better control. I think that's about it, actually. This has kind of been all over the place. I ended up not really doing what I wanted to do in this episode, but I'll do that in the next one. So hopefully you got a bit of an idea of how staging works and all that. It's not really advanced rocket design, but it's getting there. Let's call it intermediate rocket design. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought, if you enjoyed and all that, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.